And this is our November Veteran Story Spotlight. Today we have the great honor of meeting Jeremiah Wilber, who is featured in the 20-Year War book. And we'll talk a little bit later about how that book is going to become an exhibition here at the museum. But it's also Native American Heritage Month in November. And Jeremiah has a very traditional background, but not traditional as you might think. He is a 20-year veteran of the Army. He was a Green Beret in Special Forces. He was in 5 deployments during the 20-Year War. And so we're going to get to know Jeremiah today and really find out what Jeremiah has been up to since he left the Army. And I think everyone's going to find that pretty interesting. So Jeremiah, first of all, thanks for coming on with us today. It's great to meet you. Where are you calling from today?
Thanks for having me. I live in Parker, Colorado.
What made you decide to join the service, and why you stayed so long, and how you got from just joining the Army into becoming a Green Beret? I think that's an interesting part.
Yeah. So my dad was in the military. So when I was a kid growing up, he was in the National Guard. So I got to see him, kind of that 1 weekend a month, putting on his uniform and stuff. And it was just, just the culture around that. And my grandfathers all served. I come with a long line of both sides of my family, my father's side and my mother's side. My grandfather on my dad's side, he lied about his age and joined the Navy at 14. And he drove the amphibious assault boats in the South Pacific at 15 years old in World War II. My mother's father, he had a Silver Star in Korea in the Marine Corps as a PFC, as a machine gunner. So I think like just their stories, that culture itself, just being a warrior was something that was a part of my life from a young age. And then my father is originally from San Diego. He grew up, cowboying and just, playing football and just kind of rough, rugged, outdoorsy guy. And my mother is Muscalero Apache. A little bit of history on my mother's side of the family. My grandparents both went to Catholic boarding schools, and a lot of Americans don't really know about that and what happened in that. But basically, the real term of cancel culture, that's where it comes from. It's cancel the culture. Let's educate the Indian out of them and basically make them to be white or Hispanic. So basically, my grandparents were forced to learn Catholic religion, and then they grew up like they were Mexican Americans. So there's a lot of culture lost in my grandparents. So I'm Apache by blood and Assiniboine by tradition and heritage. So again, being around that as a young kid, be going to powwows, always seeing the warriors, like the warriors get to dance in certain dances that other people don't get to dance in. And it was really cool to see, this is the 80s, to see these old guys dancing with, first cav on their shield or special forces or 101st, and they were the warriors. They were the ones that everybody looked up to. And that was just, something I grew up with. And my mother always used to tell us when we were kids, she would say that the warriors had a saying, and it's saying today's a good day to die. And that's not like a suicidal ideation or that you want to die. It just means that you're right with God, you're right with the creator, you're right with your family. And if something happens to you today, you welcome it. So warriors really preach that mentality going into battle because it made them not being scared of death, that they're honoring their family, they're honoring the creator, they're doing what's right. So I just, my parents just ingrained that in us, and we had to work hard. And, from a young age, we started martial arts, and just really was it was something that was always around us all the time, just that warrior mentality, that warrior culture. And so I get it from both of my parents.
Tell me what happened after service, and what War Party movement is.
So once I retired, I got involved with anti-human trafficking in Africa. And then basically COVID hit, and, we weren't able to travel outside the US. But during that time, it was kind of like, there's so much going on in our own country, and I just look at kids, and it was just like no one's helping children, no one's helping women, no one's helping children. That's just kind of how I felt, and I was like, I love helping people in other countries, and that was my mission for 20 years. But I wanted to do something that I could create change in the United States. So the reason why I haven't done a nonprofit and didn't go down the nonprofit path to begin with was I also do a lot of nonprofit work raising money for veteran nonprofits. So my biggest event I do every year is called the Grand Traverse, and it's a 40-mile backcountry ski race. So it's basically like ultra marathons on skis in the mountains. And I've done that the last 4 years, and I've always raised money for a different veteran organization. So having those ties and seeing what goes on behind the scenes, it just wasn't something I was willing to take on by myself. War Party Movement is, in a nutshell, it's just a drop shipping clothing company. The ups and downs, when I say it's really cool, it means
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sustainable company. I don't have, I'm very eco-friendly, green on that side of it, where I don't have a bunch of apparel, I'm not wasting clothing. Um, it's very easy. I can be hands off. I can still work a day job
Mm-hmm.
and affect the other change I want to do with War Party Movement. And at the same time, the downside is I can't throw like a personal note in your package. I can't really control all the things on the day to day with the
Right.
shipment.
Yeah.
Um, but most of the War Party Movement, it's more about messaging, and I really just wanted to like two messages that I really try to drive home with people. And I got this when COVID started too. I really started
Mm-hmm.
thinking, and it was like, you know, no one knows their neighbors anymore. Like people don't help the old lady cross the street, or it's like the old saying, like do unto others as you have them do unto you. And all the things we know when we grew up as kids, I just feel like no one does it anymore. Everyone's caught up in this like social world, these fake ass like friends and fake, just everything's fake. Filters are fake. Nothing's real, and I feel like people are just so consumed with that. So I really wanted to try to drive home a message that you are the movement, and that's why I put movement behind it, because you can create change in your own community. You don't have to have money to do that. You can do. There's things you can do. I'm sure we can all look out our window and look at our neighborhood or our children's school or whatever it is. There's something you can do to make that community better. So that's one thing that I try to do with War Party Movement. The other side of it is with my mother being Native. My mother definitely worked in this field, trying to remove women out of bad situations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the red handprint represents MMIW, which stands for Missing Murdered Indigenous Women, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an epidemic that's just destroying our country that a lot of people don't know about. And the reason why is because Indian reservations are just like any considered ghetto that you've ever been or ever seen in your life. They're just sprawled over thousands of acres in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
No running water, lack of resources, lots of drugs, alcohol. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on, you know, government subsidies and how this came about. I'm sure people, if they study it, they understand, once you remove people from their food, their land, their entire well-being and how they make a living, and then force them to do something they don't want to do, that's where we have this avalanche of problems. But I really try to not only bring awareness to that, but also create change in that. All the money through War Party Movement, I don't keep any of it. I'm paying the bills to run the software and everything else, but I have a regular job. Like I'm not keeping the money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing I like to tell people, just trying to be quick, but where the money's gone so far. I started in July. I don't make a ton of money doing this, but I was able to raise over $3,000 for equine therapy scholarships for kids in Bozeman, Montana, for
Mm-hmm.
low-income kids. It's a native-owned business. The trainer, Savannah McCarty, she's Native woman, a survivor at that. She was trafficked as a little girl. So she really gets these kids and knows what they're going through. So we did that. I donated a personal horse of mine. He's up there working with the kids. Um, I've conducted two rescues now on my own. When I say rescues, that's I think a lot of people think of my background as being a Green Beret, where I'm kicking indoors and killing bad guys, and you can't do that here in the United States. You need law enforcement. So what we provide is security for the women to be able to leave abusive relationships. So we help them move. We've done 3 of those so far. I've done 2, and my buddy, another uh, member of my team, has conducted another one. We've given over $1,500 to nonprofits that globally fight human trafficking. And then recently, which I'm super proud of, this weekend we worked a bunch of cases of missing people, and we actually found a missing elder in Sanders, Arizona. We were part of that search and rescue effort. So
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah, so it's really exciting to see that. It's hard working with these families. It's hard talking to them. It's hard, um, being emotional. And something I talked to my wife with the other night was like, I started to get a little emotional, and I don't ever really do that. Like I've always been able to just turn it off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I talked to my wife and I told her, I said, I can flip that switch. I can be an operator and flip that switch. But I don't want to do it. I want to stay connected and passionate, and I want my heart to hurt for these people.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like that also encompasses the warrior mindset and the warrior spirit to be able to have compassion and to understanding of what people are going through. So, I've made that decision mentally to say, you know what, I'm going to stay connected, and it's going to be hard, but I'm going to do it. So that's just kind of a warning, and something I tell people, and I have a lot of people want to get involved, and more power to them. I welcome
Mm-hmm.
it. But I just challenge them with, hey, you're biting off a lot, and it could be more than you can handle. Um, it's it's not rewarding whatsoever. It's not. The stories are never happy.
It's not the easiest job to do, obviously, and it's not for the faint at heart, whatever. And maybe because you're a warrior and you have that mentality, but there's not a lot of people doing what you do.
I started War Party Movement maybe 2 to 3 weeks before I went to LA. When I started it, I just knew I wanted to create change. I didn't know what the right answer was. And in my mind, it was like, if I can buy skateboards for kids in East St. Louis in the ghetto and it helps change them and thinks that somebody actually cares about them,
Mm.
then that's something positive to me. If I can buy school supplies for kids on the Navajo reservation or whatever, I didn't really have a goal. It was just like, I just got to do something, and I'm tired of sitting on my hands. I'm tired of
Mm.
virtue signaling. So the reason why I said that to begin with is because War Party Movement, to me now, I'm really finding direction and purpose, and what I'm doing with the money, and all of these things come through um, people like Kay that I rescued, and other people I talk to, because I don't want all these ideas to be mine. I want them to be the communities. I want them to be the people's ideas, and I want to help them accomplish things in their community. But the other side of my long-term goal, and I may turn this into a nonprofit at that point, but I want to start an equine therapy course, and basically it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
a guide course or a cowboy course. Um, so a graduate at the end of the course would be able to be a green hand on a ranch or work for an outfitter as a packer. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not all the students. That's just the ones that can mentally deal with that. But what
Right.
I'm going to use is women survivors of abuse as my students.
Well, let's switch gears just for a minute, because I know we're going to talk a little bit about the 20 war, but how did you get into the book? We're going to be talking about this exhibition that's coming next spring out of this book. But there's 71 veterans in here, and you're one of them. How did you get linked up with the authors and the photographer?
I have no idea. Um, honestly, I didn't have social media until I retired, and I just wanted to stay positive on social media. I didn't want to go down any of the negativity. I realized that the moment I typed "retired Green Beret" in my bio, that people would put me in a different light than they put every other veteran, because I was a Green Beret. So I believe that special operations, we are the tip of the spear, whether that's on the battlefield or even as veterans. We need to lead by example. So I think, I just try to showcase that. And to be honest, how I got in the book was Emily Campagno. I'm friends with her. And she reached out to me and said, "Hey, my friend Bo is doing a book. I really think you'd be awesome for this. I and that's just how we started. I started talking to Emily about it, and she introduced me to Bo and a couple conversations, and it was basically it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, for sure. Like we definitely want Jeremiah." And I was, kind of blown away because I didn't, I don't think I'm that cool or do anything that's like that. And the other part of it that I thought was a little, I wanted people to know who I am is
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% disabled. I'm prescribed 22 different medications by the VA. I don't take any of them. I use CBD, marijuana, a diet, medical grade water. Like everything I do is holistic and all natural.
Absolutely. I think you're doing it your way. And again, you're not just sitting back and letting things happen. You're kind of taking it to people. And if it's like you said, if you're helping just a few people at a time, that'll help someone else. And if that helps someone else, it helps someone else.
I wanted to be an example for people that one, when I say you are the movement, hopefully I can show enough examples to people where they can start taking action in their own community. The other thing of it is as a consumer, when you buy apparel from me, that it's going to a good cause. I'm not putting rims on my truck and buying horses with it. I'm actually putting that money back into the community. So I know a lot of people have the excuse of time. So I get it. You don't have time, wear one of my sweatshirts. All of our art is designed to create conversation for people to ask you, what does that mean? Or what is that? So you can almost come up with your own version of what the movement is. Some other art pieces and other art that I will come out with, you won't be able to necessarily do that, like for the red handprint. But it's a statistic that people don't know. And it's like, I throw that out there. In 2016, it was over 5,400 women went missing and murdered in North America. And only 112 of those were reported by the DOJ. So this is something that, like, even just talking about it, and regardless of your skin color or where you live, it's an important subject. And I think that, it definitely sparks conversation to what's going on with women and children across our country. So the biggest message I have is just, I really want to showcase men and men stepping up. And I want to help women to empower women again. And that's why, I talk about my long-term goal with that cowboy course or cowgirl course, if you will, to give them a skill set that 99% of the men in our country can't do. But I just look at that, and that's just my biggest thing with Work Party Movement is I just want to create change. I want to help people create change. I want them to think about what they can do around them to do something to create change. Another goal that I had when I set out was to try to tie a lot of the veteran programs, whether that's nonprofits or just programs I'm involved with or work with, into Work Party Movement. And how can I do that? And I'm going to go ahead and share the story a little bit just because, he's good with it. But one of the guys on my team, he's a Navy veteran. He tried to take his own life numerous times since he got out of the military. Even before War Party Movement, he started turning his life around. He mentors youth, at-risk youth, doing equine therapy. And this last weekend, he was my main guy on the rescue looking for the elder. So my main goal with it is if I can continue to help the veteran community, if I can give some guys purpose, some soldiers, I say guys, but I mean, women and men, the veterans purpose. Again, I feel like when we look at Afghanistan, it was just it's so confusing to a lot of people, of what happened there. And I think it's easy to go down the rabbit hole that they felt like all that meant nothing. And it wasn't for nothing. It meant something. It was for the man to your right and your left. That's all you need to know. None of the other crap matters. But for people, if I can give veterans like Dylan a mission and a purpose in life, for him to continue to be a cowboy and work with at-risk youth, but when the phone rings, to answer the call and do what he did when he was in the military and go on missions, go on operations, searching for people, assisting women, assisting kids. That's really my ultimate goal with Work Party Movement, is to tie all those, that veteran thing into it. And I just want to share that story because it's important to me. And and pretty emotional between me and him, with his background and him trying to take his own life.
Hmm. Yeah, Jeremiah, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate you adding that to our story here today. We since the 20-year war, ended, in the early fall, we've kind of had this campaign at the museum and a lot of social media about your service matters. And I think just the story that you just talked about, and you personally, I think your service matters because it allows you to do what you're doing now. And you found that strength as a warrior. And I love just calling you a warrior. It allows you to do these kind of things and feel good about it's great to have compassion. It's great to shake your neighbor's hand. That's the way it should be. So, and again, as we wrap up here, I loved how you found your way into the book and just threw someone and said, who are these people? Actually, Emily, who's a friend of our museum too, she's going to be doing some coverage of this exhibition when it comes out. And again, we're talking about the 20-year war book that is now going to be an exhibition here at the museum this March. And there's going to be some information on our website soon about what that is. Jeremiah is a part of it. He's going to be one of the featured photographs inside this exhibition, as well as the story too, because the stories that come out of this book and beyond the photographs is about what we're talking about today, who these people are, and their service mattered long after they left and what they're doing now. So again, lots more to follow with that. And by the way, Jeremiah, in case you missed it, we do have a gift shop at the museum. And I bet those T-shirts would start selling like hotcakes once we get them here. So we'll talk about that. So Jeremiah, again, thanks for talking to us today. This has been our November story spotlight. And Jeremiah Wilber has been a great guest, and lots more to come from him as he becomes a new friend of the museum with our new exhibition. Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you so much for having me.